In this section, we learned the creation method of standard primitive, extended primitive, shape creation, and we also learned how to modify these geometry and shape object. First, we learned about standard primitive. We already know how to create a box object and then modify these parameter. So I quickly create a box by using top viewport. So I click on the box. When you click on the box object, in the bottom side you can see the box parameter like length, width, height, and these parameters related to segments in the length, width and height side. In case if you want to create a box object with the defined value, here you can type that value in the keyboard entries. First click on the keyboard entries to expand this, and by clicking on this again you can collapse these parameters. Same as if you click on the parameters you can collapse this, and by click again you can expand this. So now I expand keyboard entries. Here you can define XYZ parameter, or you can also manually place. In the bottom side you can define length, width and height parameter. I type 12 for length, width and height. So a cube will be created when I click on the create button. It will create it in the center of the grid because XYZ value is 0. So I click on the create button. Here you can see a box or cube is created. Or you can also create a box object or any standard primitive with the interactive method, like click and hold and then drag your mouse, then release and then move upside to define height. So both method you can use for creation standard or any geometries or shapes. If you want to modify this selected object, go to modify, click here, and here you can see length, width, height parameter available here. In case if you want to increase length, width or height, by clicking on these arrow keys you can increase. In the 2D axis viewport you can see some extra geometries like these segments, but you are not able to see these lines in the perspective viewport. So first I zoom, and by pressing F4 you can show the edge face. When I press F4 key, here you can see edge face mode applied. If I press F4 key again, default shading will be applied. When we learn complex shape creation by using standard primitive, we use these segments for modify this shape. In case if you want to reset any parameter like these segment, just right click on the up and down arrow keys, so default value will be applied. So it's a very easy way to apply a default value for any parameter. If you select more than one object at a time, you are not able to see any parameter in this command panel. So you have to select only one object at a time in case if you want to modify. Now I delete these box. With the window selection I select and then press delete key to delete. Now I click on the create button so I can access this standard primitive. Next standard primitive is a sphere. So I click on this and I create this by using 3 viewport. So first I create this from the top viewport. So I click and drag, a sphere will be created. Then I switch to front viewport. First I make this viewport as an active viewport by scroll wheel and then click on the center grid and then create again, same as I create this from the left side. So I click here with the scroll wheel and then click and drag outside, so a sphere will be created. Now we have to exit from the sphere tool. So I right click, or you can also press escape key. Then I maximize this perspective viewport by pressing Alt W. To enable edge face you can press F4, or you can also click here. Click on the default shading. Here you can see different shading mode available here. Click on the edge face. Now you can see the constructions line. Now I select all the spheres and then apply a different color here. Now you can see these constructions line clearly. Now I select all the spheres again. Here you can see the constructions line angles or alignment are different if you create this from the different viewport. So it's depend on you what you want to create with this sphere. If you want to create a bean box like this by using this sphere, you have to create this by using top viewport, so you can easily modify this. But in case if you want to create this from the side viewport, you are not able to modify this. Now I minimize again by pressing Alt W and then delete these two spheres that I create from the side viewport. Now I select this and then go to modify section. So we can modify the radius or segments. First I decrease radius. By decreasing radius value you can reduce the size, or by increasing you can increase the size. By increasing or decreasing segment value you can increase or decrease smoothness. If I decrease segment value, you can see smoothness is gone. If you increase segment value, smoothness will increase. So I type 32 again. Third parameter is smooth. If you uncheck this, you are not able to see the smoothness. First I maximize this and then deselect. Here you can see smoothness is not available. And if you turn on this smooth checkbox, you can see the smooth surface. In the downside, these are some modification related settings like hemisphere. By decrease the value, you can cut this sphere like this. I show you. You can see this modification from the side viewport. So by using this parameter you can try to create a half sphere or any similar object that you want to create. You can use this parameter. Some other options also available here for cropping this sphere, like slice from or to. First you have to enable these checkbox slice on, and by using this from or to parameter you can cut this shape like this. These parameters available for all these shapes they created from the axis, like cylinder, cone, torus. So these modification parameters available in the modify panel. Now I select this sphere and then delete. Our next standard primitive is a cylinder. I also create this by using top viewport. So click and hold, define a radius and then click here. Then you have to define height. So I click here to define height, then right click to exit from the creation method. You can also create these objects with the keyboard entries. If you click on the cylinder tool and then expand the keyboard entries, here you can define radius and then height. If you create this with the interactive method, go to modify section and here you can change the radius. If you want to create a column, you can reduce radius or increase or decrease height according to your requirement. Height segment and cap segment parameter also available here. You can see some height segments also available here, or you can increase the value or decrease the value also. Same as you can also apply cap segment on the top and bottom side. So I apply 2 or 3 here. You can see these geometries in the top, or I rotate this first in the bottom side. For smoothness you can increase side value or reduce the side value. If you want to create a octagon, hexagon or pentagon like a column, so it's also very useful parameter. I increase this value up to 32, so a smooth cylinder will be created. Slice option also available here, so you can also use these parameters if you want to create a cylinder like this, or you can also create a pie chart like diagram by using these. Now I delete this and then create a next standard primitive, that is a torus. It look like a tube type shape. So first click and drag and define a radius, then you have to define the thickness. So I click here and then right click, then go to modify section and change the parameters. Here you can see two radius parameter available here, first for outer radius and second for this thickness. Rotation, by using this parameter you can rotate like this, or you can also twist. By right click you can apply default parameter here. Next parameter is segment. By using this you can increase or decrease smoothness. Side parameter, for this side smoothness, just click and hold on the up and down arrow keys and increase or decrease values. I increase segment around 26, so you can see a tube type shape is created. Now I create next shape, that is text plus. By using this you can type any text and convert this text into a 3D object. uh, you have to modify these parameter. So go to modify section. In the text parameter you can change the text which you want to type. If you scroll down you can change the size also. In the bottom side there is a value for extrude. By using this you can increase the thickness of this text. So it's very important parameter. If I create this text from the top viewport, it look like this. If I create this from the side viewport, it will create like this. I show you. So I click on the text plus again and it will look like this. You can see this from the front viewport. Now I create next standard primitive, that's a cone. So I also create this from the top viewport. Click and hold on the one point and then drag your mouse so you can define a radius, then release your mouse and increase height. In the cone parameter you can see you have to define two radius. Till now we define radius 1 and then we define height. So I click here to define height and then move your mouse up or down side so you can define radius 2. So by using these three parameters a cone will be created. Now I go to modify section. Here you can change the radius 1 in case if you want to change after creation, or you can also change height. Slice parameter also available, that are similar to any other standard primitive. I quickly create other standard primitive also, like this geosphere. It looks similar to sphere but the geometry is little bit different. Here you can see the geometry, it's triangle based, but in the sphere that is quad based. So it's a basic difference. If you go to modify section, here you can see couple of options available here. Radius and segment values are similar, but here you can apply tetra, octa or iso geometry based type. If you want to apply hemisphere, click on this checkbox and you can convert this into a hemisphere object. Now I create next standard primitive, that is a tube. I click and drag, define a radius, then move mouse inside so a second radius will be created, then move in upside so a well like shape is created. Here you can see. Then I go to modify section. Here you can increase or decrease radius 1 or radius 2. By using this value you can apply thickness. You can create a tube with this, or you can also create a hollow column or well like shape. By using this parameter you can increase height and other parameter related to segments. By using this segment value you can apply or increase decrease cap segment. You can see extra segments here, so it will created by the cap segment. Same as side, it's for smoothness, and slice option also available here, so you can also apply this. Next standard primitive is pyramid. It look like a cone but it will create it look like a pyramid shape. Same as in case if you want to create a flooring you can also use this plane. So click and drag and define a height width. So it's also a very useful geometry for creating surface or ceiling. If you go to modify section, here you can increase or decrease length, width, length segment, height segment. In the next class we learn about extended primitives.